What is up, Impact Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Anthem of Impact Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Jason, coming to you straight from the Lou, St. Louis, Missouri. First of all, I just want to say, again, I'm sorry that I know I've kind of been, I haven't done a video, at least an Impact review, the last couple weeks. It's kind of had a couple family issues, nothing like, don't want anybody thinking it's like anything huge, just kind of prevented me from doing a show. And then then the next week I was getting ready to do it, and I had no cable or internet. So I missed like the first hour, a little over the first hour of Impact, so couldn't really give a good one. Then I did my review of Money in the Bank from the WWE because I attended it because it was right here in St. Louis. And of course, just the other day, I did my June unboxing from Pro Wrestling Crate. So I am back now this week to do a review over last night's Impact Wrestling live, well not live, from Mumbai, India, coming to us from Mumbai, India. So let's get into it, shall we? All right, so got my trust me notes here. It's always like taking notes because it's funny. Whenever I watch reviews before I started doing this, people would kind of be like, man, I can't remember, or they would say something wrong. I'm like, come on, how can you not remember that? I don't know what it is. You get in front of this camera and it's like, what happened next? Oh yeah. So you gotta love the notes. So we started off with the opening package, kind of reliving Sanjay Dutt's championship win and some of his celebration and behind the scenes stuff that we didn't see on TV last week, obviously. Another good opening package. Kevin Sullivan's been just knocking all these vignettes and packages out of the park. He's come back and done a really good job and really upped, Impact Wrestling's production value, just the way it looks. But after all that and the opening packages and welcome to Impact, first thing we see is backstage in a dressing room. We see Sienna and Laurel Van Ness. Sienna tells Laurel, listen, Rosemary's not in the building, but I still need you. What we can do really to really hurt Allie is I need you to focus. And then, of course, in the best, like, Laurel Van Ness that she can be, Chelsea Green's like, focus. Okay. She's amazing in this because she has taken this gimmick of the Laurel Van Ness, the bride, the monster bride, or whatever you want to call it. This gimmick that should have only had a very short run before it got goofy. And I think that she's done a great job with it. And I'm not going to say legitimized it because it's still a goofy gimmick, but she's made it more of a it's okay. I'm okay with it still being a thing because she's evolved it a little bit. She's still not just this thing. It's more of like she's had a mental breakdown, and now here's the repercussions of her mental breakdown. She's still mentally unstable, going through all this stuff. And I think pairing her with Congo Kong, that's also kind of this monster that kind of, I'm not going to say brainless monster, but almost kind of like that. It kind of bridges the gap of how could she have gotten to that? Well, okay, Congo Kong's like this. Even though we don't get explanation, you kind of see the similarities. So I'm okay with it right now. I'm sure eventually she'll get her revenge on Allie at some point, maybe, or she'll finally kind of go back to being normal. But right now I'm liking it. It's a fun, different dynamic. But it's okay. It sets up what could be happening later on tonight in the Knockouts tag team match. Then we go to the ring, and thankfully, outside that little segment, the show starts off with a match, which again, something that Impact should always do. I remember whenever Impact first, started, or Impact Wrestling first started their show Impact, going to Fox Sports. That was kind of like the whole thing about it, because it was only an hour long, and that's why they called it Impact. It's an impact of pro wrestling, in-ring action for an hour, just an impact. And that's something I think that they should get back to. I'm not saying the whole thing has to be wrestling because I'm a fan of stories. I'm a fan of storytelling. I do like in-ring action, but there has to be storytelling to go with it for me to really buy in and really care. That's one thing that I struggle with watching Ring of Honor. One, also, it seems like their tapings, their weekly TV show is always kind of out of sync. I don't know, I can never really understand it or get into it. I don't know. It's hard. I love the in-ring action, but to tune in every week to just see a bunch of people wrestle for no really rhyme or reason, I can't get into it. So you need some type of stories. But this first match is the Sony 6 X Division elimination match. That's a mouthful. So Sony 6 obviously is the station over there, or the production company channel that Impact is on. That's who they have to deal with to be able to be shown over there in India. So it's kind of a good way to get them plugged in too, get them some advertisement, because everywhere else that's not India that this is being shown in, now they know what this is, where they're at, who's providing this show. So we start off with what it basically ends up being is kind of a what Impact is always called like a gauntlet, where it's, except for the fact that everybody started in the ring instead of every 2 minutes somebody else coming out. It's it's elimination. Everybody's in there. Elimination. Boom, boom, boom. Then it can come down to the final two. So I'll just go through the eliminations here real quick. The first one eliminated was Braxton Sutter. Then Suicide. Then Davey gets himself disqualified by throwing a chair into Eddie Edwards. Then Eddie gets himself disqualified by giving kind of almost looked like a package pile driver, just the way he had Davey's like neck and shoulders kind of folded in, tucked in, but he kind of gave him a driver on the chair, almost like a vertical suplex, brainbuster kind of looking move. And I don't know why Eddie got disqualified, because he was doing that to a wrestler who was already disqualified. So that didn't make any sense. That kind of seemed like a WWE move right there. And I go, wait, why is he disqualified? He's just defending himself against a guy that's still trying to kick his ass, who you already disqualified. But anyway, it doesn't matter. At the same time, it moves on with their storyline, keeps them going. But it just doesn't make any sense. Then it's down to Matt Sydal and Trevor Lee, the final two. They get a good back and forth. Lets Trevor really get some good heat on him, makes him look strong. But then at the end of the day, Matt Sydal wins and is your Sony 6 X Division elimination match champion. It's a good fun match though overall. I thought a lot of good spots. Obviously, the spot between Davey and Eddie was always good. Matt Sydal's always fun to watch in the ring. Suicide had a couple of good moves. Trevor Lee always has good moves up his sleeve that they let everybody kind of get in a spot or two. Not a whole lot, but they're trying to make it fairly fast. It's fast paced, but it gets you going. It kind of draws people in. If they're trying to get new viewers, that's probably a really good match to draw people in and kind of going, ooh, wow, that's some crazy stuff. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna keep watching. But again, that's just the way I think they should always start off their shows. Then we go to another video package, and Rockstar Spud's out there with his selfie stick and phone and showing, going sightseeing. But then he sees one sight he did not want to see. Swaggle. This is, as I just said it like that, I haven't thought about that until I just said it, swaggle like that. This is Seinfeld Newman, man. This is so Seinfeld Newman. This feud. Oh! That's what I'm talking about. This feud, I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care. I like it. It's funny. It's not taking too much time. They're doing these in backstage vignettes for the most part. So it's not really... You see it for like a minute and a half. It's not taking anybody's TV time away. Okay? That's not happening. But he runs into Swoggle. Swoggle, they're starting to threaten each other. Rockstar Spud hits a selfie stick to just this random lady. She goes, take it off. And the best thing about it is, like, you still have the camera feed from the lady running. Oh, that was good. I thought it was funny. You know what? It makes you laugh. You got to be able to laugh. You got to be entertained in wrestling. It's not always about competition, okay? Because it's a work, you know what I mean? So, like, you like seeing the athleticism, sure, that's great. But at the same time, you still got to be entertained. Not to the detriment of the in-ring action like you get in another universe, but at the same time, you still got to get entertained. And these spots are good, you know? Then out of nowhere, this other small Indian person walks up, and they do this, like, eye twitch thing like you would see back in the Old West, where it's like, huh, you, what about you, who's you? Then all of a sudden they start to go fight, and the little guy gets him, he's like, no, and then it just kind of stops. Hey, I don't know why it just stopped like that. We never got like another update, but it was funny. I laughed. My wife laughed, and my wife doesn't really like to watch wrestling. It's boring to her now. Every once in a while she'll get into it. WWE she never gets into, ever. She really thinks that's boring. Impact every once in a while she'll be sitting there looking at her phone, playing on it, and she'll just start to kind of laugh a little bit, like during those segments. Especially during Spud stuff. She laughs a lot. Excuse me. Alright. So then we go to another vignette. And it's JB and Joseph Park. And Joseph Park's a little depressed, a little upset. Not looking forward to Slammiversary. And JB comes in and tries to pump him up. This is another one where my wife and I really were laughing very hard. Because JB's motivational speech is just like random, like at least how, from what I can tell, there was a lot of hip-hop lyrics, movie quotes. And it was just a lot of like the way it was put together and so nonchalant. Like it wasn't over the top obvious unless you were really listening to what he was saying. And off the top of my head right now, and I didn't write anything in my notes, but off the top of my head, I can't think of like any specific line that really was like, oh my god. But I just remember it being that way. And it was funny. I love these Joseph Park JB segments too. They're absolutely hilarious. They're supposed to be hilarious. They're supposed to be funny. They're supposed to be like I saw some people talking about, man, it's just so cringeworthy or it's corny. It's supposed to be. They're not trying to be serious about this. And I think they're kind of going over the top to make sure you know that they're not being serious about this. Not this feud, not this match, not nothing. And so far, I enjoy it. It's a nice little like 2 to 3 minute little video you get to see, and it's done. But then we go to the Knockouts tag team match. We have Sienna and Laurel Van Ness versus Allie and Rosemary. And at first, Allie's standing there and Rosemary's music hits and she's not coming out. So now she's worried. Up comes Sienna and Laurel Van Ness from the ring, up the ramp. Out from under the ring comes Rosemary, which I thought was really cool. She comes up and they turn around and double clothesline. Oh, she looked like a beast. It was really cool. Throughout in the middle of the match, KM comes out with a kendo stick. It's kind of distracting Allie a little bit. Then Sutter comes out, starts, attacking KM, obviously to prevent him from doing anything. Allie gets distracted, gets knocked off the apron. Rosemary is also then kind of distracted. It allows Laurel Van Ness and Sienna to double team. Ends with a modified curb stomp by Laurel Van Ness. And Sienna then pins Rosemary for the win. And then they kind of said that this was Rosemary's first pin, which is odd. I didn't think this was her first loss, like her first pin. Because I could have sworn at like some point. I don't know. I can't remember specifically. But anyway, yeah, a little lackluster way to finally, to get her first pin. Yeah, and probably not the best, but at the same time, This makes everything seem. I can also see why they did it as well. They probably aren't gonna. This match was definitely to further storyline rather than to say, hey, look at these four ladies and see what they can do. This was a storyline match. It was very quick, unfortunately. I know everybody was kind of wanting to see like this epic match between these four ladies, but you kind of have to remember Allie's still in that building process of her character as far as her learning her wrestling ability and her getting aggressive. She pulled out a pretty sick like Death Valley, like the neckbreaker move thing. That was awesome. And then at the same time, Chelsea Green, Laurel Van Ness, her character is still dealing with her mental breakdown. So we weren't going to get an amazing match as if it was going to be Cherry Bomb, Sienna, or Cherry Bomb, Rosemary, Sienna, and Chelsea Green. Like, we weren't going to get that you would maybe get on the Independents. We're going to get the Allie character, Rosemary, the Laurel Van Ness character, and Sienna. So in that sense, and storyline-wise, I'm okay with it. I'm not necessarily okay with the Rosemary pin. They could have pinned Allie. But I think they're trying to now up and really make both Sienna and Rosemary look super strong. And because now, if you look on Twitter, Rosemary said something, posted something on Twitter to Sienna about, now you've made this personal, blah, blah, blah. So maybe they do a segment next week in an angle where it makes it seem like Rosemary is going to go even darker. Maybe they make this match the Monsters Ball match. You never know. I don't know. I haven't read the spoilers, luckily, and I don't think anything from this last episode has been spoiled. So far, I did a pretty good job of being able to avoid everything but the Sanjay Dutt stuff. So hopefully, we'll see what happens. They can shoot like a backstage angle where it's showing that now Rosemary's gone even further off the hook or off the deep end and getting darker and really is going to be like, now you asked for it, Sienna. And then that can, then storyline wise, we're going into Slammiversary and you're expecting a monster of a match. But then after that, we get LAX segment where starts off in their clubhouse, which I'm pretty sure that was definitely the Aces and Eights clubhouse. Pretty sure they just recycled that whole set, which is awesome. Gotta reuse what you can, right? But K-Dog and everybody's sitting there, and, basically, in so many words, said, we're going to go to these other area promotions, and we're going to take their belts, we're going to take their money. And, of course, then it cuts to them running in on other tag teams and beating them up, and of course, backstage, and they're, threatening all the promoters and saying that they want money and stuff like that. I love these things. I love that they're going that extra edge with LAX. It's good. I just love these segments, and K-Dog is just amazing. I love Conan. Always have. I don't know. All this is great. I can't wait to see whenever they finally let Diamante get in the ring and really start going after that Knockouts title. And hopefully Homicide gets back in the ring, man. He's always been one of my favorites. So I hope he gets in the ring too. Then after that, again, a lot of segments. And I know why they're doing this, unfortunately. And it's one of the main reasons why I hope they can eventually get financially to the point where they can go live. At least every other week. Like, if they can do every other week and start traveling, that would be awesome. But right now, they got to do like a month and a half worth of tapings at a time. And going into Slammiversary, where just the feeling that I get, I feel like they know, like they did have a game plan and know what stories that were going to go there. But I also feel like they left a lot open to be able to book surprises and have enough time to book surprises without surprises for Slammiversary without being pigeonholed by too many different stories going into that. With the whole, everybody's talking about LAX and the tag team division. Obviously, Conan was talking about how Jeff wants Aerostar and Drago to be their opponents. Well, clearly that's, he was clearly wanting some other big names to come in to be that surprise opponent for LAX. So their storyline ended 4 weeks ago with them already getting both titles. So what'll probably happen, how I see how the LAX stuff happening is there'll probably be a segment where probably like Karen and Bruce and Dutch are out in the ring or something and say, they already unified these titles, so here's their new titles. Come on out and get your brand new titles. And they would do like the revealing thing. And then Conan gets on the mic and starts talking about how the good old boys don't want them on this. Surprised they even let them come pick up these titles because they don't want, some Latinos up on their TV screens and blah, blah, blah. And then maybe they go, oh, really? Actually, how about these guys? Or these guys just start running in on them or something, and here comes out that tag team and it sets up a match like that. I could see that's how they'll set that up. But again, they were probably waiting and trying to talk to several different teams out there. And they wanted to make sure that they didn't either overhype something that wasn't going to happen or get pigeonholed with a certain storyline to where it wouldn't make sense or they wouldn't be able to do that. Same thing with the rumors of the Terufuji. God, I don't have his name in front of me, so I'm trying to remember it. But the guy from Noah, Pro Wrestling, that he wants him to be in there, and he wants to get a couple other people from AAA, a couple other people from Crash, and Noah to just kind of show up and have a few matches. So unfortunately, this episode has a lot of segments, and that last segment is now followed up with another one, and it's Sanjay Dutt's celebration. I thought it was really cool, and I'm super happy for Sanjay. Unfortunately, even though they might have had this plan for a very long time, this celebration just looked too much like Genders. And that's unfortunate. Because I'm sure, like I said, they've had this plan for a long time. Obviously, we knew that they had the India shows planned a long time. But to the casual fans or any of the skeptics out there that say Impact's just trying to copy WWE or whatever, and yeah, right there you kind of have to say that they are. Unfortunately, I don't think that they are, but it looks like that. I don't know. It sucks. That's one of those situations as an Impact Wrestling fan. You just kind of sigh and like, fuck. Yeah, people are gonna, they're gonna rat on this one. Just sucks. But halfway through the celebration, Low Key comes out, talks about sportsmanship, and since I gave you your match on just you asking, I would hope you exchange the respect back, and I'm asking for a rematch for that title, and I hope you give it to me. Sanjay says, not only will I give it to you, we're going to do it at Slammiversary, and we're going to make sure we know who the winner is. We're going to do a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Yes, please. Like, that, I cannot wait for this match. This is going to be a barn burner. As long as I get enough time, oh my gosh. They're going to tear the house down. They're going to steal the show. This can be awesome. For anybody out there that's just stumbling on this video that's not really an Impact fan or used to be an Impact fan, order Slammiversary for this match. Because this match is going to be phenomenal. No pun intended. But then, of course, Low Key turns on, or not turns, because it's not like they were friends, but sucker punches Sanjay, sucker punches Mahabali Shira, puts him out of, gives Shira the Warrior's Way, and then Matt Sydal comes out to try to save both of them, and Low Key leaves. After that, unfortunately, since Shira just got attacked, we get a KM versus Mahabali Shira match. Shira wants to come out. The doctors are trying to pull him back, and he's saying, I got to fight this guy. I'm not going to not wrestle in front of my home crowd, in front of my people. So Shira goes down there, and of course Cam takes advantage and, really just kind of dominates most of this match. Then, Shira gets a couple good moves in there, gets a little bit of momentum, and catches KM with the sky high, and boom, Mahabali Shira wins against KM. Just don't ask KM if he lost that match, because he's going to tell you no, and then call you a liar. No, I'm just kidding. I like KM's character. I think it's actually kind of a different, refreshing character, even though it's a total reference to like an 80s movie. I don't care. I like it. But then after the match, Congo Kong comes out and starts beating up Shira, and KM follows with them. So that was that. Then we get a part 2 of the JB and Joseph Park workout stuff. This is the video I've been waiting for since they first started talking about. We need to train. Whenever Joseph Park had that backstage segment, we just need to train. It's gonna be good. We just need to stay positive and train. I was waiting for these workout montages, and we got one, and they were phenomenal. I started off with like 10 pounds, then 50, then 150, and trying to make it look like they're doing a bunch of stuff. They're running on the treadmill and high-fiving each other. Finally, JB jumps into the pool, and then Abyss goes in for a cannonball. That was a massive splash. Oh my gosh. Such a big man. Oh, it was great. Those are funny. I don't care. I can't wait for that match just because I know it's going to be a shit show. But it's going to be good. Like, it's going to be a good shit show. It's probably going to be placed perfectly in the night just to kind of get everybody kind of comic relief during some other type of matches. Probably put it between two big time matches, maybe between like the Full Metal Mayhem match and then the strap match. Put that right there in the middle, a little relief, and then you can get focused back in on something that's going to be really intense and emotional. Then after that, we get the Moose announcement. Starts off Eli Drake, Chris Adonis come out. They start running down Moose, running down how he has no friends. Of course, that brings out Moose. And Moose says, you know what, you're right. I don't have a partner that's in the back. This is my partner. And they go to a video package, and it's D'Angelo Williams, the running back for the, he's a free agent now. We just got done with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year and then was with the Carolina Panthers pretty much his whole career before he went to Pittsburgh. Did a whole video package, and then, of course, they come back. And I kind of like this. It's kind of different. Whereas in, say, another universe, they would have gone through the whole package, and then they would have came back, and they all would have been, like, looking at the screen for no reason and then not doing anything. Well, no, these heels were like, screw you. Boom, we're going to hit you from behind us. So they come back from the package, and they're already jumped Moose. And, of course, then they beat him up, and then they leave. I don't know what to think about the D'Angelo Williams thing. I'm not a huge fan of actors or current athletes coming into wrestling just to do like a weird match like this. What does kind of put me at a little bit of ease is D'Angelo Williams has been training right now up with Scott D'Amore at his school, which is really cool. And the fact that supposedly this is something that D'Angelo Williams wants to do. Like, once his career is done, he does want to become a professional wrestler. That's something that he does want to do. He's been a fan his whole life. So that kind of puts me a little bit at ease. He's going to take this serious. He's probably is working hard because he is a free agent. He doesn't have a team right now. So what he's probably doing is kind of going, hey, I'm going to put my toes in the water here, and hey, cool. And it's good for Impact as far as getting the mainstream media, getting on SI.com, getting on ESPN.com, Fox Sports stuff, Yahoo, Google, they're all over the place with this news. and hopefully it keeps going, and more people will be willing to turn in and just kind of go, even if it's this type of reaction. D'Angelo Williams is wrestling. Oh my god, dude, I gotta see this shit. Hey, if it buys the pay-per-view, it buys the pay-per-view. But it's a good thing. I'm just happy to see Jeff doing this again. As far as getting partnerships, or maybe not partnerships, but doing things with people, deals with people that can get them some mainstream identities and free advertisement. They did that thing with the Nashville Predators, which is something that they should have been doing forever. Whenever there's Nashville Predators game going on, and you hear in the background during like a time break or timeout or period stuff, or before the game, and you're hearing like Finn Balor's music or Glorious. No, it should be the team. It should be the wrestling company's themes that are based right there in Nashville. Okay, we should be hearing like oi oi oi. No, maybe not that, but you know what I mean? Like Moose, something, anything should be getting played. EC3's Trouble, Trouble, Trouble. That'd be perfect. They're getting ready to go on a power play. Trouble, 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 Trouble. That'd be great. That's the stuff that should be going on. They should be, before, I remember he always worked with people from the Titans. I remember Curtis Granderson being a huge wrestling fan. They were working with him whenever he was with the Detroit Tigers. Whenever they brought in AJ Przinsky and Dale Torborg, and had that connection through Dale Torborg, who used to be the Demon in WCW. They had Shaq show up once. Toby Keith, right? Like he used his connections with friends or everybody else to get some mainstream pub. And hopefully, he keeps doing it and it works. And then anyway, moving on. We get to the main event. Lashley and E-Sing 3 versus James Storm and Alberto El Patron. I thought it was a good match. Not a great match, but it was good. It had a lot of intensity into it. It really played up everybody's different stories and the animosity between everybody. I thought his pace was a little more faster paced than what you expect from these four, but it was good. He definitely used it in a way to move all the different storylines going forward in the Slammiversary. But at the end of the day, Patron wins and celebrated, and the crowd grabbed both titles, went to the crowd. Him going to the crowd with both titles is a very go-home show moment. So I wonder if any of them are even on next week. I'm very interested to see really kind of how next week goes. Because it's got to be difficult to do a go-home show for as big of a pay-per-view as Slammiversary is going to be. All the way, one, in India with a limited roster. And two, it's taped a month in advance. So there's only so much you can do. So, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it. Regardless of how much it really builds to that pay-per-view and makes you want to go see it, I'm already pumped up for it. I cannot wait. I can't wait to see who's all going to show up. Because, whenever Jarrett was big, in charge, in Impact, he made sure pay-per-views were must-see. Because he knew with them always being taped, it's hard to have great surprising moments during the week, so he waited for the pay-per-views. And he had made sure he had a reputation of anything can happen on a pay-per-view. Anybody could show up, whether it's a one-time deal or they're joining TNA, Impact, so it made it must-see, and you had to get himself a reputation for that, so it's must-see, and you had to order. That's why I never order pay-per-views, at least not at a regular basis, because it's a lot of money. The only reason why I watch all the WWE pay-per-views now is because I've got the network. Why not? I've got nothing else better to do on a Sunday night. But it started getting to the point, and it was like 06, 07, definitely 07, where I started I was like, screw it, I don't care, I'll find the way to do it. And I started ordering like every pay-per-view because it was must see. I had to see what's gonna happen, who's gonna show up, and I feel like Slammiversary is gonna be that way. There's gonna be somebody showing up, whether it's, and I don't know. I know there's been talk about possibly Swagger, but I don't know because with his no compete stuff. I heard Ryback. I know he's a big star, but he has such this weird baggage with him. Just kind of like with Patron, but at least Patron is a good wrestler, and I think over time he's going like that kind of baggage will fall off. Ryback just has this weird package about him or baggage about him that if he shows up in Impact, a lot of people are just gonna go, "Fucking Ryback? You gotta be kidding me!" You know. Will he do well? I have no clue. But even if he does do well, it's that name that people are going to point and laugh at. But I'm looking forward to Slammiversary. We'll have to see what happens next week. And, I don't know. But that was Impact last night in a nutshell with my thoughts. Now, I'm also going to give my thoughts. Because I hate, again, I think I've said this before when I was talking about the broken gimmick stuff. I hate doing these conversations on Twitter because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to have an actual discussion about it. Everybody's already picked their sides, and you're just going to shoot back and forth, and it's not going to go anywhere. So I try not to comment too much on this stuff on Twitter. I'll do it right here. What the hell is Rebby Hardy posting the public records of Jeff Jarrett's DUI that he got, I guess, a little while back? What does that prove? What the hell does that fucking prove? I mean, okay, so Jarrett in an interview says something about, well, listen, I hate to get too much into this because I know there's a bunch of legal stuff back and forth, but just in general, whenever it comes to intellectual property, and that is what we're dealing with here is intellectual property, you have producers, writers, performers. Producers have the ownership rights. Writers get the credit. Performers perform it. And yes, Jeff and Matt could be considered writers because they came up with it. And if they did put up some money towards it, which, again, they could have, I'm not saying they didn't, then maybe they have some producing rights. But the executive producer of the show is clearly an Impact employee. It's Impact Wrestling. So they now gain full rights. So, it's just, which is probably why, since they probably do have some type of producing credits, that is probably why certain things he can do without Impact really coming down on him. He can still do the hand gestures, maybe. I think that's why there's certain things like that. But Rebby's rebuttal to that shit of Jeff saying he thinks Impact owns it is, well, let me throw out this DUI crap. Do you need that? Do you need attention that bad, Rebby? Do you? I try not to get too into it because it's none of my business. It really isn't. It really isn't. The part that I start getting pissed off about is then you see everybody like, oh yeah, proves your point. What point does it prove? What point? Him getting a DUI means jack shit for this whole broken thing. And who owns it, who doesn't own it, who can do what. It's just mind-boggling to me. It really is. And to see so many people out there like just agreeing with her and be like, yeah, you go girl, and I love Savage Rebby. Like, okay. I don't get it, personally. Like, it makes no sense to me. At all. But yeah, that's my quick thought on that. And then the other kind of big thing that happened the other day is the Hurricane, Al Snow, and Pat Kenny, Simon Diamond, are no longer with Impact Wrestling, no longer agents. Sanjay Dutt's becoming a full-time agent along with Abyss, and I believe somebody else, and I can't remember who now, are becoming the full-time agents since they can, I guess, pull double duty. That's why they're sticking with that. Which again, I don't know. Anyway, what for whatever reason that they left, I don't care. They're gone. And of course, the Hurricane, Shane Helms Hardy, he's got to say a couple words here and there, and fine, whatever. He's obviously wasn't happy with something, and he's airing his grievances, and that's fine. I don't like seeing it because, if he really does have a lot of respect for a lot of people that work there, I think he knows the temperature of the climate right now with fans in Impact Wrestling. If he didn't want to hurt Impact Wrestling, he probably shouldn't go on and say things like, I don't like to kiss ass, and I'm not going to start with an owl. Or, something like that. Or I want to say, hey, Impact, good luck in your future endeavors. Whatever he says. But he's got the right to do it. I just think if you really wanted to not hurt Impact, you don't say those things. Because then you got all the dirt sheets going, oh, Shane Helms has, what did he mean by this? But then you have other people that are either still with the company or was just with the company say things like, hey, Shane, I'm going to really miss you. Thank you for everything, and blah, blah, blah. Then you have some Impact Wrestling fans tweet those people that thanked Shane Helms and start calling them like traitors and, calling them names or whatever and saying stuff like, oh, how dare you think this guy that's dissing Impact. We don't have a right as fans to say this to these people. Again, it's your prerogative. I'm not going to tell you how to be on Twitter or how to live your life or anything. That's not what I'm saying. Just giving my thoughts on an observation that I'm making. And I personally don't like seeing it because, look, it makes people maybe not want to wrestle also for Impact because they're like, their fans are fucking dicks. Because it's one of those things like, they're not saying anything about the employers. They're just saying other things like, I enjoy other coworkers that I work with. I might hate my boss. I might hate the way things are ran. But I like my coworkers. So if my coworker leaves and is like, was like, screw this place. I hate all you, blah, blah, blah. But I know me and him are cool and we're like, hey, man, it sucks not having you around. I'm going to miss you. Yeah, man, I'm going to miss working with you too. Doesn't mean anything that I'm all of a sudden now also revolting against the place that I work at. And that's just this situation. They like each other. They might not like the above structure. But I just think that it's not a good thing to be doing. Nobody's stopping you. But it's how it's the way I kind of see it and the way I feel. Anyway, hope you guys like this video and my review. I hope everybody's loving Impact Wrestling here lately. And I can't wait to see what happens next week. And then of course, man, I wish we could even just skip this week and just get to Slammiversary because I'm so ready for it. I'm really hoping big things come out of this pay-per-view, and they get a lot of good advertising and publicity from this, and we can get things rolling again in Impact Wrestling. So until next week, Impact Nation, peace.